Tomorrow's Queen Energy Leadership Summit, I have got a really special guest for you. I'm going to be joined by Danielle Amos. She's known as the Mystic Millionaire Mentor, and she's a master of mindset, of energetics, and universal laws. And once she was deeply in debt and overwhelmed, and then she transformed her life from the inside out and became a multi-millionaire by shifting her self-image and aligning with abundance as her birthright. She's actually one of Bob Proctor's proteges, and she's the host of the Mystic Millionaire podcast, where she teaches women how to stop chasing and start becoming the version of themselves who naturally attracts wealth. So today on our IG Live, and it's going to be the podcast as well, we're going to dive deep into what it really takes to quantum leap in your wealth without burnout, and how your self-worth actually determines your net worth, and why the hustle era is over and your embodiment era has begun. So I am so excited to bring Danielle up. Love you. Oh, hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, doing so well. I'm so happy to have you here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Nice to
Oh,
see you.
so great to see you too. I'm so happy that we could make this happen. And everyone who's joining in the chat as well, please do feel free to jump in the comments, drop your questions, share your insights, because there are going to be a lot of mic drop moments in this space. I already know it.
Thank you
So
for having me.
Danielle, my pleasure. So I've done a quick intro. I don't know if you caught that while you're on the live, to share a little bit about your journey. But I would love if you could share with us in a few more words, really, what this message means to you, where you've come from, and why this is the magic you're sharing with the world now.
Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned debt. So 10 years ago, I've been a coach for 10 years. And 10 years ago, before that, I was introduced to network marketing, and I said yes to that fabulous business model.
Mm,
And I assumed that would have been like 18 years ago now. And sorry, not 18, 13 years ago. And I assumed that I would do really well in the industry because I had a really great corporate job and I was really good at it and I was successful. And I assumed that I could just transfer those skills, become an entrepreneur, rock it in network marketing, replace that corporate income, quit my job, and live a life
yeah.
of freedom. And it didn't happen. I went into it with really like high hopes, big goals, and
Mm,
it didn't translate the way that I thought it would. And over time, because I was super coachable, doing everything they said, I started thinking something was wrong with me. And I would read all the personal development books, go to all the conferences, do the things, hustle, hustle, hustle really hard. And so my next step was logically to spend more time on my side hustle. So I quit my job.
yeah.
I quit
Wow.
my corporate job and I thought if I just go head into like full on into this, I'll succeed. And my results didn't shift very much. And so
Mm,
you can imagine months, my expenses didn't go away and months
yeah.
went by and I found myself in over $100,000 in credit card debt.
Wow.
And it was really stressful, as you can imagine. And I went from being thinking something was wrong with me, now super angry and like really frustrated and desperate. And I wasn't a really nice person to be around. I was
Mm,
blaming everyone but myself for my
mm.
results. My mother literally dragged me to a seminar where Bob Proctor was the speaker on stage. And
Wow.
I went there like this because she said he's going to be speaking. Funny enough, I have the book beside me. She's like, he's going to read this book, Think and Grow Rich. And I'm like, Mom, I've read it. I can basically repeat it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and she's like, just come. My coach is putting on this event. So I went, sat at the back of
Mhm.
the room, my arms crossed, and he said, your results don't lie.
Yeah.
They tell the truth. And if your way's not working, why not try mine? And he's like, and I like had I was like, what do you mean my results tell the truth? Like I can tell you why I have the results. My husband doesn't support me, the economy, all of these things,
Yeah.
none of them were me. And it was like a punch in the gut. And he said, you got to take radical responsibility for what's going on in here because that's defining
Mm,
your results. At that time, I had no idea really what he was talking about. If you would have asked me, I was confident. But once I really took a hard look, I was like really hard on myself in my mind. Nothing was ever good enough.
yeah.
I was focused on everything that wasn't working, very good victim. And so
Mm,
our
yeah.
results showcase that. So fast forward, I invested in this program. I didn't have the money, but I borrowed 3 credit cards. I knew that I had to do it. And within 6 months, my income tripled. I replaced that corporate income probably about 9 months later. And then within that, I was up to like $25,000 months. And then from there, turned that yearly income of about 100,000 into my monthly. And I don't share that to impress anyone. I share it to impress upon you that you can do it too. And most
Mm,
likely it's what's going on in here, your self-image and your
hmm.
mindset that is blocking you or getting you what you currently have. And so the first step is to take responsibility. So that's where I am now. And now I help other women do that, let go of the hustle because it's not how hard you work.
Yeah.
And over 3 dozen millionaires have graduated through our community since 2020.
It's
We're
so
just getting started.
beautiful. We love this. And I think it's so powerful what you're sharing in that actually, when I think back to my space in my life where I was the most disempowered, I didn't know that was the case. I didn't, and again, I just thought, well, if I'm following all the strategy of this should work. I've read the books, I've done the things, but I was just living up here. I just wanted information and I wasn't actually transforming anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's why this didn't land. I'm still following these same beliefs, but think just because I read this book, I deserve to get this outcome. If I just try harder, then it will happen. So I love
Yeah.
the sharing of this shift. And there are going to be so many women who are listening who are like, I'm doing all the right things strategically, but I'm not seeing results. So let's share more about that.
Yeah. And you made a good point, like reading all the books. So you have it consciously, like you can
Yeah,
repeat all the fancy statements and everything about manifestation. But if it's not working
yeah,
and you've been at it for a while, like here's the thing, there's a difference between, like, it's really important to be persistent and to understand that we do live in a physical universe and there needs to be time for the universe to catch up. But I've seen things
hmm,
happen like instantly, as well. But so it's important that you're persistent. But most likely, if you've read all the books and you can regurgitate this information, it is that it's not embodied. You are not applying it. You're not living in harmony with the beliefs that are in this, for example.
hmm,
You're and that's simply it. So you've got to learn how to apply it. And I'll give you an example that really impacted me. So my mentor, he was like, if you really believe that money is energy and then
yeah,
it's infinite and it's your birthright, which it is, so it's
yeah,
our natural state to be prosperous. If you really believe that, how do you order your meal at the restaurant?
yeah,
Like, really pay attention. And most people are ordering what they would like to eat for dinner from the right hand side of the menu, the price.
yeah.
Most people are following and they're making choice based on price, not desire. And it's these
Mm,
simple actions. So that means you're not in praxis. And that word means that your belief is not a match for your behavior, or your behavior is not a match for that belief. You're not in praxis. You're not in alignment with that belief.
yeah,
You're doing the opposite because you're choosing based on price point, and that's not the way. If you
yeah.
truly believed, you wouldn't make that decision. You wouldn't be eating chicken and burgers all the time.
It's almost like this phase of like how you're making a decision is out of fear of like, oh, there's not enough, or I don't have enough, or how am I gonna, or like you say, following your desire. And I think that was a huge shift for me when I started actually listening and following my desire versus questioning, well, am I worthy of having this? Well, why do I want this? Should I want this? And adding in all of these conditions as to why I should have the thing or not have the thing.
Yeah, and we were taught, like, we were programmed, weren't we, Katie, to like be responsible with money, like, and
Yeah.
to view it like, if I invest $75 in this steak, if we keep it the restaurant, if I invest in my worth in this $75 steak, and I have, for easy math, let's say I have $100 in my bank account, In
Mm,
our mind, that leaves us with $25. And
mm,
and everyone might be listening and be like, well, yeah, that's the math. Well, it's not actually. You doing that kind of math really shows me that you don't understand how the universal laws and how it works, because that right now $100 in your account is a snapshot of how you've been thinking in the past, and that
mm,
$75 investment does not take away. If you are investing in yourself and choosing by desire, that money invested will multiply in your account, especially when invested in the energy of gratitude and appreciation.
mm.
And so that $100, it does not 100 minus 75 equal 25 for maybe a split second or a few minutes. But what happens after that you've
Yeah,
made that decision on desire? It comes so much like back, multiplies.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, what I'm taking from that is a sense of when you start making a decision from a different frequency, from a different space, you get different results. So it's not just about what do you order or the thing, but it's like, who am I being as I order that? And if I'm being the person who has a $75 steak, and maybe they do that and then they're like, oh my God, why did you do that? Now I'm not gonna have any money. And then it's like, okay, well, actually, you've gone straight back into a scarcity mindset. So it's not about like, right, go to Louis Vuitton and spank all your cash because then you're going to get rich as a result of being in that frequency. Not if it's going to put you in a space where you're like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. But when you start moving differently and start making different decisions and acting from that space, then naturally the flow kind of vibrates out and things come to you that wouldn't have come to you previously from that different frequency.
Yeah, you got it. And you've got to hold yourself in that frequency as well, right?
Yeah,
So, to
yeah,
your
yeah,
point about the steak, like we can make the decision to order the steak and think, and like this is where some people like also don't really understand the coaching. They make the decision and then they allow themselves to go back down to that scarcity mindset. That's not going to
yeah.
work. You've
No.
got to keep yourself in that. And so I've seen people go to Louis Vuitton and invest in the purse, and then they from that moment forward they go and
Yeah.
live life as that version of them, and literally their business multiplies. Now,
Yeah.
is it the purse? Is that the coaching for everyone? Absolutely not. However,
Mm,
there is a mechanism, there is the energy, that to your point, that they're making that decision from a certain self-image, from their
yeah.
frequency, and then they're taking responsibility for what's going on in here, and they're not allowing themselves to go back to their old ways. They're using that Louis Vuitton purse as an anchor,
Yes.
and then it expands. So what you give comes back, right? So if you want
Mm.
more love, give more love. You want more money, give more money. It must be kept in circulation. Do not hold on to it.
Oh, I love this. I mean, you're so speaking my language, and I'm just like, it all makes so much sense because I went to an event recently. Amanda Francis was speaking at it, and she was saying, your job is to stay in the vibe. That's it. Stay in the vibe. And, like I said, you could buy the thing and then go into a panic mode. You're not in the vibe. You didn't practice that. You didn't stay there and hold it. But it's very easy for us to be distracted by our senses and then see in the bank account, oh, this is the number in there, therefore that tells me about who I am, what I'm capable of, what happens next month. No, that doesn't tell you anything about what you're
Nope.
capable of or what could happen. And if you're open to the possibility that things could exponentially shift in your favor very quickly, then they can.
And what's in your bank account is old news. Stop
Yeah.
focusing on it. You like have a memory. You don't have to keep checking it.
Yeah.
So it's so human of us to believe this, what's in this 3D world is like what all there is, but like
Yeah.
it's not true. And so we've got to get out of the habit of putting so much emphasis here in the physical world.
Mhm.
I love this. I repeat this to myself and my clients often. You've got to learn. So just because absence of evidence, you have absence of evidence. So maybe in your bank account, it is at $100, and that's absence of prosperity in your mind.
Yeah.
Don't that absence of evidence be evidence of absence. It doesn't mean that
Mm.
the universe isn't prosperous, and
Yeah.
you are most likely one decision away from prosperity. And you've got to continue to make that decision moment to moment to moment to moment to be in the
Mm.
vibe, like Amanda Francis says. One of
Yeah.
the and that's not easy to do when we have the masses programmed in lack, limitation,
Yeah.
right? So, like, why it's so important to be at events like you were just at, or our Queen Summit tomorrow. Like, you need to be surrounded by people that also believe in this, because there's only, I would say, 3 to 5% of people that really do believe in this in the
Mm.
outside world. And then when you're in the outside world, this is what I do.
I love this. For anyone who's listening to this on the podcast, Danielle's just put some earmuffs on.
Yeah, because I'm not interested in what the
Yeah,
masses are saying about money. I
no,
really, I don't want their results. So I'm not going to listen. Just not paying attention. It's like, I play by my own rules.
totally. Yeah, it's like, you know what, there's your business, there's my business, there's God's business. I'm just
Yeah.
saying me, I'm not going to worry about what anyone else thinks, or if anyone else thinks this is delusional and silly or whatever, because as you say, it's like, well, when I do this, what happens in my life? When I hold this, what happens? So am I going to worry about all of that stuff? No. And it's this space of frequency, like, right, like a tuning fork. So when you get yourself in the frequency, but you're around all of these other people who are believing a different way, and their thing is wrong, yes, put on your earmuffs, because you don't want to accidentally attune to that frequency through their
Yeah.
tuning fork. And in the same way, if you want to raise your vibration and start living differently, get yourself around other women who are thinking this way, talking this way, moving this way, being this way, because you're going to start attuning to their frequency too. And that's why, you know, as Daniel said, getting in the room or getting in a virtual room with these kind of people is going to help you to catch fire when you're around everything else that's on fire too. So yeah,
It's so
tomorrow we
exciting.
have, isn't it? I mean, this year in particular, I was like, I'm going to really pour into myself and get myself in these spaces and be around the kind of people I want to think like them. I want to know what questions they're asking. And this was the year that I've really poured in. And I was thinking last night, I'm like, I cannot believe that some of the stuff I'm thinking about wasn't even a whole year ago. Like the amount I've shifted is just unbelievable. So yeah, I feel
You
like,
just you just said something really important, because most
mm,
people get themselves in the room and they are so fixated on what the other people are doing, and
mm,
they're like, tell me your strategy for the first million,
yeah,
tell me what you do. It's I'm telling you right now, success has very little to do with strategy,
yeah,
very little to do with the action. It's
yeah,
the energy behind the action, it's the frequency. And you said, I want to know what they're thinking. That
mm,
is the question.
yeah. Yeah, totally. And, you know, because I was this very living up in my head, I wanted to know the strategy, what I steps on how to that, to get there. And then later, you know, you'll wonder how, and you know, you did it. And I can't give you the strategy and reverse engineer, so you do it because you're not me and you're not my frequency. But that doesn't mean that you can't do that or something better. But it's about tuning into it from the space of your power. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
love this.
And the how it all comes together is usually never the how that you predict anyway. So that question of like how isn't relevant. And
Yeah,
I've noticed when people get really into the how, they it's like they cut off their imagination muscle, and your
yeah,
imagination muscle is like, well, Einstein says it's everything, you bring your imagination with your intuition, and you've got a magical combination.
yeah. It's so funny. Like we're having this conversation, and I'm thinking about how my belief system around what we're talking about has evolved so much. I mean, I remember someone saying, like, let's get rid of the how. The how is none of your business. And I'm like, well, how am I going to do anything without the how? That's the main thing I need to know. I
Yeah.
was so attached to that. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
about another conversation as well with a friend of mine, and she had this really gorgeous blazer. And I was like, oh, I love that. She was like, yeah. And then she told me how much it was. And in my mind, I was thinking, that's a lot of money. She went, this blazer made me $20,000. And I was like, how can a blazer make you money, right? But as you say, you know, that she shifted her being by buying this piece that made her feel into something different. And that attracted her to
Oh my
creating that
gosh.
money in her business.
I love using shopping to help my clients step into
Yeah.
their next level version, because think about that. Your friend that bought the blazer, and I'm not sure how much it is, but let's just put a price tag like 5,000 on it.
Mm,
And So who does she need to be in her own mind, her own, like how worthy of
Yeah.
wearing basically what some people spend on a car. So she's
Yes.
invested in a car that she's now wearing. How
Yeah.
worthy does she need to be in order to put that on in her own mind? Now, not
Hmm.
worth like actual worth, because we're all
Yeah.
worthy because we're human, but in her own mind, her self-worth. And
Yeah.
so that right there elevates. And so then again, her job, like Amanda Francis says, is to stay in that vibe.
Yeah.
And so in front of our eyes, when I take people shopping and we do this experience, a lot of women freak out because they don't feel worthy. They'll cry, they'll have a breakdown. We'll have them touch the material in like a luxury store, and they, like, some people don't want to do it, like they resist it so much. And
Mm.
the holding the space of like really witnessing a woman step into and embody that worth, like allowing them to wrap their mind around what it would mean for them to wear a $5,000 blazer, let alone invest in it. It's a really beautiful process. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think money's our best tool. Like it's going to bring up all your crap. It's going to bring up all the shame,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the things your parents taught you, everything about self-worth. So in my opinion, there's nothing better than money because we use it every
Yeah.
day. It's going to be
Uh-huh.
right in your face.
It is such a temple for your spiritual evolution. Because we say
Yeah.
we project our biggest stuff onto it. I'm just loving this conversation so much. I'm so fired up for this. Can you tell us more about, you mentioned earlier the universal laws. Can you tell us more about how that plays into working around money and leadership specifically?
Mhm. Yeah, well, there are laws that are impacting your results, whether you are aware of them or not. And so
Hmm.
let's use an obvious law that exists in our physical reality. Let's use the law of gravity. So we all know how the law of gravity works. You know, I have my Palo Santo and I drop it, it's going to fall to the ground. So for those of you that are listening to the podcast, I just drop this piece or I drop a pen. We know it's going to fall to the ground. But what happens, Katie, if I dropped it and it went up? Your eyes would be like, what's happening? Like
Yes.
you wouldn't assume that would be the case because you understand the law. Now, the law doesn't play favorites. So let's say now someone who's doesn't understand the law of gravity and they're walking and they walk off a building or off a step, they're going to fall
Hmm.
and hurt themselves no matter what. Like the law won't say, oh, let's go easy on that person because they don't understand the law of gravity. No, it impacts you
Yeah.
either way. Well, the truth is there's universal laws that are governing this universe, and I call them God's laws that are impacting you, just like the law of gravity. And so as you become aware of them, you can start to live in harmony with them. And they're
Mm-hmm.
definitely impacting your ability to receive money. And so well, there's lots. I mean, we can talk about the law of cause and effect, which is the law of laws by Emerson. And that law states that there, for every effect or every circumstance or every event, there is a cause. Now, we might remember from science, like we push the ball's going to move forward. We know it on the
Mm-hmm.
physical realm, and most people assume that the causes are action, but they're not. The causes exist on all three levels in which we exist as beings. So the spiritual, the intellect, and the physical plane. And that root cause, you want to really understand what's happening inside and the thinking that you are doing. That is the cause. Like that's planting a seed that will have an effect in your physical environment. And so
Mm-hmm.
paying close attention. And we kind of touched on this before because I was said, you know, your strategy and what you're doing like matters very little. It's
Yeah.
more the thinking that you are doing while you're taking that action that matters. And so the law of cause and effect is a really important one. Now, it's not necessarily like, do you want to say, okay, this is the effect I want or the result I want, and what are the causes? You could, but you could also say, to yourself, like, okay, who am I as my goal achieve self? And this is self image. Like, if I
Mm.
can, what is the goal that I desire? Maybe it's $100,000 months. Who am I being? Like, what's my thinking? What am I feeling? And what are my action steps in that version of me, my self-image, that goal achieved, or my identity? Some people call it identity. And understand that those are the causes to the effect of the 100,000, and you can get a good idea, like using your imagination, of who you're becoming. And I can tell you right now, the version of you listening to this call, maybe earning $10,000 a month, is not the version of you that will be
Yeah.
earning 100,000. Your thoughts won't be the same. The way you view money won't be the same. The way you think about prospecting clients, it will be different. The way
Yeah.
you feel when you walk into the room, it will be different. And so you got to
Yeah.
become that. So I love the law of cause and effect. The other one, if we could touch on it, is the law of opposites.
Okay.
I work with this one a lot. So most people don't understand the law of opposites, and it's a good idea to really understand it when it comes to money. So let's say you have a goal now to 10x your income. I love turning women's yearly income into their monthly income. Like, to me, that's such a
Yeah.
vibe, and it's so fun. So let's say the most you earned is 100,000 in a year, like I did, and I wanted that to be your monthly. And another reason we do that scale, like the 10xing type thing, is because you want to be able to see a vast difference between who you are now and where you're going. And Dan Sullivan says this in a great book, 10x is easier than 2x,
Yeah.
right? And so we want a big enough gap, and in order for the change to be obvious, the change within you to be obvious. So the law of opposites. So now you've created this goal, this vision for your life of $100,000 months. And you are really anchoring in, you're doing your best to be that version of you, showing up a certain way. And that's the trick, like staying in the vibe, doing your best day after day, no matter the circumstances. And then maybe you've been doing this for a week and you're noticing new opportunities, maybe a new podcast interview and new clients, that kind of thing. And it's really exciting. And then you open your email and there's a tax bill. And let's say that
Hmm.
tax bill is for like 25,000 more, or like maybe half your yearly income, or more than a quarter of your yearly income. And you're like, oh my goodness. And you freak out. Well, what's actually happening is, now that you've set this prosperity goal and you've been acting in the vibration of this next level prosperous self, the universe must send you something that will have you feel the opposite of prosperity, to create the
Okay.
context of you having this goal. And so this is the law of opposites at play. So you'll get something that will appear to be taking you off track. You'll be like, I'm playing the prosperity game and now I just got this massive bill. This doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes a lot of sense if you understand. And
Yeah.
so you've got to be able to hold the opposite of what you want, because they're the same. They're just opposite ends of the same stick. So the law of polarity. So let's say $100,000 months and negative. And it doesn't mean that you've got to attract $100,000 bill. You need to be
Mm.
able to hold the frequency of prosperity as you're moving through this lack
Mm.
circumstance. And that's the
Yeah.
goal. And what most people do is they get freaked out. They say, oh, this isn't working. And they get really hard on themselves and they take their
Yeah.
foot off the gas from who they're being. And they get so stuck in that circumstance thinking that's the end. No, you're just in like the little bit of a messy middle. Move through it in that same prosperous energy of your goal achieved self. And I promise you, on the other side is that $100,000 month that you've been calibrating to.
Yeah.
It's really just a step. And so, can you see this as a good sign? This is the law of
Yeah.
opposites at play for you to feel
Yeah.
the prosperity. Yeah.
It's almost like, oh, I've become a match for a better problem now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And
there's,
I see the problem as like an opportunity. Like, am I
yeah.
going to get tripped up by this?
Yeah.
Or can I still, like, no matter the circumstance, can I still show up as her, as that
Yeah.
prosperous version of me? And yeah, you can, is the answer. You might need some support. And yes, you can.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people, they think about the upside, which is
Mhm.
great, obviously. But as you say, that there's polarity, there's both ends of this spectrum. And so it's like, yeah, there's no there's no solution that means, oh, I just win at everything now. There's just trade-offs. And then you get this like, oh, I get better wins and I get like better problems as well. And so when you can be like, oh, I can hold both of it, it's like, oh yeah, oh my God, I'm getting more clients now. Oh no, I'm having more clients leave. Well, actually, yeah, that's going to happen because when you're, serving three people, it might be that all your clients are really happy with you all the time. And when you get your identity locked into that, then you get a new client in that's like, no, actually, this wasn't for me. I want out. And you make that mean you're doing it wrong. It's like, no, you can't please everybody. Not everyone, if you have 1,000 people in your space, not all of those 1,000 people are going to be really happy and are going to connect with the frequency you're putting out there. So it doesn't need to mean the thing that your mind might make it mean. And as you were saying, the cause and effect piece as well, which I think is so interesting. I love how you articulated that. It's almost like until we really slow it down and look at what our thoughts and actions are behind, because for many of us, especially if you are a high achieving woman, you move so fast, you don't often get a chance to slow down and stop and even reflect on what is the thought beneath that. Why did I order or not order the steak? Why did I buy or not buy the jacket? And then but that is giving you all of the little pieces of your jigsaw puzzle that shows you where you're going and what you're doing and who you're becoming.
Yeah, and when you're looking at those pieces, it's super important that you are objective. So you're
Mm,
observing yourself in
yeah.
a real, like almost like a scientist would, like, oh, interesting that I made that.
Yes.
Like, no, not right or wrong, no shame. You're not
Yeah.
doing it wrong. It's like
Mm,
interesting, like I made that decision. And especially when you are moving so fast, because that shows me that you are fully in your program self, you're fully in your habitual self,
yeah.
which is your paradigm. And so that paradigm, that habitual way of being, how you react, move with very little conscious thought, is showing me exactly why your results are your results right now. And
Mm,
so in that state, it's like, okay, I didn't even realize, but that thought, that belief was behind that choice. Not a
yeah.
problem. Now that I've identified it, I can choose something different because that
Yeah.
belief doesn't serve me. And a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. Like it's completely, you have free will to choose your thoughts,
Yeah. You
right?
can click on it or not click on it.
Right, yeah. And it takes something, like it takes conscious,
Yeah.
it takes you noticing. I also going to say, when my mentor used to say, like, it's easy to have a good attitude when things are going well. He's like,
Yeah.
you know, money in the bank, clients rolling in, you're great, no problem. He's like, that's child's play.
Yeah.
You show me the person who's going through it and is able to stay in a high vibration. That's
Yeah.
mastery.
It is. That's when you really get to test how strong those muscles really are. Can you stay in the vibe still? And yeah, sometimes we get distracted by the 3D. Oh, this is telling me that no, and you bring it back to what is, as you say, the three planes. So many of us are living so much on the physical plane of things. We forget the spiritual, we forget the field where there is infinite potential and infinite possibility. And it's like, oh, that's where I'm creating. Okay, let me get back into my field.
Yeah. And again, it takes something, and each of us have our tools to get us back. And we're also human, so we might get tripped up. But what I noticed is I don't get tripped up for very long now.
Yeah,
I think things used to take me out for like months,
yeah,
like really. And I would obsess about things. That doesn't happen anymore.
yeah. Yeah, something that would have been a 6-month problem now becomes a 20-minute
Yeah.
a 20
Yeah,
minute
and again, it's
experience.
like, oh, interesting. Like interesting, this is coming into my field. Okay, great.
Yes. I
Full
I love,
responsibility, you know?
yeah, it's very easy to play the blame game. And when you say you bring it back to full responsibility, that's the only space where you have any power. And I just love how you're sharing about going at it from the space of a neutral scientist, right? Because when we move at things from judgment, and it's so easy to do that because, our brain innocently wants to try and make sense of the world in that way. But when you can meet yourself through a lens of compassion, through a lens of curiosity, that's where you're actually able to make the shift. It's almost like that judgment is what keeps you stuck. It keeps you in this prison versus the compassion and the forgiveness that can actually allow you to break out of whatever cage around your capacity you're currently experiencing and go beyond.
Yeah, that the judgment piece, it definitely keeps you stuck and it compounds your
Yeah.
experience. So it's going to keep you in that experience longer. I have a belief that I share, and that belief is that every single human's doing their best always.
Yeah. Mm,
And so no one on purpose sabotages themselves. That'd be ridiculous. Like
yeah.
we're always doing our best. Now, our best can change day to day depending on circumstances that we allow to impact us. So I have a 15-year-old daughter. Let's say she was up all night sick and I'm up with her. My best the day after being on a podcast like this might look a little different than on a full eight
Mm,
hours worth of sleep, but it's still my best.
yeah.
And my best is good enough. And I say
Yeah.
that because it stops me from like, oh, I should have, could have, would have. It's like, no, I'm doing my best, showing up as my goal achieved. I'm very conscious. I have my habits, my rituals to get me into this space. And that best differs day to day.
Mm, yeah. If you only have 60% to give and you show up and you give it your 60%, you gave it 100%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
completely. And so then I observe based on that, I'm like, okay, I know I played full out. And
Mm,
interest like, and this is the result. Interesting. Great. What can I learn? How, like, from this? Where can I go next time? And keep moving forward in a way that is always putting this first, always putting the spiritual realm, the intellectual realm before the actions, and reminding
mm.
myself the starting point, which is 5D.
Yes, ma'am. I feel like there's so many different tangents I want to go off onto and expand it as well. But I know you talked about building not from a space of burnout, not from a space of hustling harder. Can you share more about what working smarter and not harder really means from an energetic standpoint?
Yeah, so I mean, so many of us were programmed to believe that that hard work is what creates success. And I've even
Yeah.
seen it where my clients who have they get into this material and they start attracting really amazing opportunities or money, and they'll
Mm,
actually sabotage themselves because in their mind they didn't do enough for it,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they start to feel guilty. And that's part of that paradigm of hard work. And so we
Yeah.
really, this is one that comes up a lot. It comes up for me personally. Like I, I find, especially if I'm like hit with some news and I go into like a fight or flight, I'm like, oh, interesting that like that really ingrained piece that wants me to hustle out of my, like really force myself out of here. It's coming back and I can feel her. Like she really
Yeah.
wants me to work hard here to get me out of this situation. But it's not the game. And what working smarter means versus harder is working in alignment with universal truths and
Mm,
universal laws. So really understanding some principles that govern our universe, and what does it mean if I really believed in them. And that is all about energetics. That when I say mindset, I think of like the mindset spiritual realm. Like I see it all together because it's like this field
yeah.
that we're playing in, and the energy of it. And it means being in that realm, and then making sure that your actions, when you do take actions, are in alignment. So when I gave that example earlier of, if you really believe that abundance is your birthright and
Mm,
that money's everywhere, for example, and it's infinite, then how are you really, no kidding, living your day to day? Like, how are you ordering from that menu? What is it that, like, how do you shop for groceries? How is it that you're prospecting your clients, or how are you closing sales? Like, if you really believe that money's everywhere, is it like pressure that you're putting on people, or are you empowering them to make a decision? an empowered
Yeah.
decision. So it changes everything in the way that you operate. And so we what we do in our community is I give people a list of spiritual principles, or especially around money, because I'm all about money, to
Mm.
live by and to practice. And I have them live like, if you really believe this, what does this change? And we work on each one each week. And then over time, you'll start to become more embodied with them. And yeah, it's phenomenal because we notice that the more fun we have, the more money we make. We notice
Yeah.
the less we work, the more aligned, as long as we're aligned. And yeah, do we have to take action? Like, yeah, but we take aligned action, action that
Hmm.
we feel inspired to take rather than
Yeah.
the action that we think we have to. So it completely changes the game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think I was previously very bought into that idea of you work harder and then the output is more. The more you put in, the more you get out. And I was convinced that I had to suffer and struggle my way to something. And if I worked hard enough, then someone would eventually see, oh, she's worthy of having the thing, and then would give it to me, right? So it comes back to this space of self-worth, except it doesn't work like that. You see the people who are working their asses off, they're not the people who are making the most money. And the
Yeah,
people who are, in the law firm where I was at, for example, and I'm pouring in, how can I do more? How can I take on as many hours as I possibly can? Did he get me the bonus, the pay rise, the promotions? No, it didn't. It just makes me look like a hamster on a wheel. That's she's actually really great in that work role because she'll work so hard for basically nothing. Let's keep her there, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
yeah, when
And who's getting the pay raise? The people that have the best attitude, their
yeah,
energy.
yeah, and I had no energy because I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And then I think about how I move now, and I'm like, surely this doesn't really work, does it? Like, I just have to follow my desires, stay in the vibe, keep my energy where I want to be, and then things come to me. And it's almost like that space of, the wounded masculine, and I like to talk about masculine and feminine, but not as
Mhm.
in good or bad, or, sometimes we get that misunderstanding. But I felt that to soften would somehow fracture my power, and that if I wasn't always doing, always pushing, always controlling, always forcing, it was almost like I was gripping onto everything so tight. And I thought, if I let it go, it's going to be gone. It's going to be gone forever, and I'm never going to hold it. I was so moving from fear because I didn't believe that I was worthy of what I had, because I thought if I let go, it would just disappear. Right. And you see how that projects into relationships and everything else, and working on that pattern to be able to be the one who shows up as, you have the conversation with the potential client. And it's not, I need to grip on you and I need you to sign up to this thing for me to be okay. It's like, I want what's best for you. And if this is what's best for you, let's do it. Let's go. And if you're not ready, that's okay. And then you end up with people, relationships, business, everything that is so much more aligned, as you say, and is a match for you going. And you don't have to grip, and you move into more of that feminine energy of actually
Mm.
receiving and holding and inspiring and supporting. Everything just feels so much better. So when I notice that there's something that comes in that's like, oh, I'm starting to feel urgent about something, or I'm starting to feel attached to a particular outcome, again, it's like, oh, okay, now's the time for my scientists to step in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you brought masculine and feminine energy into it. What I've noticed in my own life is that I had a pattern of needing to control because that was
Mm,
how I felt safe. Like I
yeah.
didn't trust. And so for me, I found that safety within. And a lot of that safety has come
Mm,
from faith developed through understanding and study of universal laws and then applying them to my life and then noticing the outcome. And so it's not
yeah.
blind faith, but it's like actually, so I see the laws as like the structure, the masculine container that
Mm,
through my understanding allows me to feel safe so that I can let go of the grip and be more in my feminine and allow it to flow and receive. But before I knew that, the controlling was how I felt safe in my
yeah.
outcome in my life. I didn't know any other
Mm,
way.
yeah, beautiful. It's like for so long I thought I had a problem with men, love, relationships, money. And actually, most of the thing I had to change my relationship with was power
Yeah.
and control. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then when you, and it shows up in all of those areas. And so then
Mm.
when you let go, did you notice you attracting a totally different man into your life?
Completely different.
Yeah,
And actually, I'm going to be sharing more on this on the Queen's Energy Leadership Summit tomorrow.
of
But this
course.
idea of receiving, and so I was dating this guy, and he's like, "Oh, can I make you breakfast?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, great." And he knew what my favorite breakfast was, but he's not made it before. So he's like, "What is it that? How do you like it? Like, tell me about it, and I'll make it for you." So I'm like, "Okay." And so he starts making it, and I'm like, well, he has done before. I can do it better. I can do it faster. Like, what? I'll just help him, right? So I get up and I'm started chopping stuff, getting things out the fridge. He's like, Katie, I want to make you breakfast. And I'm like, oh, isn't this funny? This looks like exactly the thing I'm trying to call in, right? And Manny wants to provide for me and do things for me and hold me and like just be in devotion to me. And yet now I'm trying
Mm.
to control this situation because I think I can do it better and I'm not a gracious, loving receiver of the energy that he's giving me. And it's like the moment I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, okay, let me be a match for this. Let me say the vibe. And I'm like, sit your ass down, Katie.
No, it's so good. I'm so happy that you said that. I've had a similar experience, not so much with making the breakfast, but with like having my door opened and like my bags carried and not something that I'm
Mm,
used to. And so of course, like I'm proud. So I go to open my door and he's like, "What are you doing? Like we need a little do-over here." He's like,
yeah,
"Clearly you don't understand how I'm meant to serve you." And
yeah.
I'm like, "Well, it doesn't make sense. Like it's cold out. Like I can just get my door." He's like, "We're not going to discuss this again." He like does not let me open my own door.
Men actually love to be providers. And
Hmm.
sometimes, if we are in this over space of control, we don't give them a space to do that. And then what I
Yeah.
see too often is that women then they're like, oh, I got this, I got this. And then they end up doing everything and then feeling kind of low key resentful because they're like, why am I, my partner is such a man child? He doesn't do anything. He doesn't. And it's almost,
Hmm.
if I'd have carried on that pattern with this guy of him making me breakfast and me being like, no, I can do it, he's going to stop wanting to make me breakfast because he's thinking, well, I failed before I started because she can do it better than me. I won't do it up to the standard. So then I just won't do anything. Right.
Yeah.
And then you
And I've
accidentally create the dynamic you don't want.
totally, and I find myself like wanting to help because I feel like, oh, it's supposed to be equal. But
Yeah.
it's not. It's unique. Again, it comes back to polarity. It's funny that that's coming up, but we actually need
Mm,
that polarity. And
yeah.
that's the role is to provide the breakfast in that way so that you can lean back and receive. And I love that you said like, oh, look, if I do this, then I'm not a very good receiver. And I think about that because giving and receiving are also the same, two ends of the
Mm,
same stick, so the law of opposites. And the way in which you receive, the way that you receive actually is the opposite of the way that a person's giving. So like if you don't receive from a place of like, oh my goodness, like thank you, this is amazing, like you are the absolute best, like you're robbing his giving,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
and vice versa. And so yeah, I think that's a really beautiful thing that you caught yourself and like sat yourself back down to receive. And then that gets to show
Yeah.
up in all other places in your life.
Completely. And it wasn't just like I noticed it and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just receive. Like I sat down and I had to sit with my discomfort and notice
Mhm.
it. But why doesn't this feel good to me? Because it's what I want. But it didn't feel good. And like, okay, what's the story? And then I noticed the stories come up of debt, of obligation, of if he does this, that means that you have to sacrifice something and whatever else. And you get to again become the scientist and see and be like, okay, how much of this is true? How much of it do I want to keep? Can I
Yeah.
start collecting evidence of something different? And now we've created something really amazing where there's a sense of power meets power. It's not a struggle of, oh, if I let you do this, then I give away some of my power. If you hold my bags, that means you think I'm vulnerable or whatever it is, the stuff that is underneath that. It's like I can be really great receiver, a really great giver. I'm not worried about calculating and tallying it and make sure like who's on the top of the power spectrum. It's just like, wow, what a beautiful space to be in where you can love without so many conditions.
Yeah, and what image came to mind is Queen Energy, which is the
Here
summit that
we
we're in tomorrow, because
go.
a queen allows herself to be served in that way, and
Yeah,
not like, and many people serve the queen, including the king, and the queen serves the king
yeah,
in her way as well.
yeah. She doesn't just build an empire, she's worshipped in it. She has
Hmm.
the best support around her.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful.
exactly. I'm so
Mm.
excited for tomorrow. So, if you lot are loving this conversation, and I know I am, I know you are, people are going to want to know where to find you, what you've got coming up. But also, can you give a bit of a taster on what to expect from the Queen's Energy Leadership Summit with you tomorrow, too?
Yeah, thank you. So I do a lot of things here on Instagram, and it's me in my DMs. So you can come in and send me a message. Best place for me to connect. And tomorrow, I'll be working with each of you on that concept of upgrading your self-image, specifically around money. So I'm going to take you through some very practical exercises that will be conscious that
Mm,
then you can embody throughout the rest of the summit and the rest of this year. So it's my intention that you'll quantum leap your money story before the end of 2025 with the tools that I give you. And they're the exact tools that I've taken, like I use myself every time I go
mm.
to that next level, but I've also used with clients over the last 10 years. And like I said, 3 dozen millionaires have graduated so far, and it really feels like we're just getting started. Like it's normal for our community for people to turn that yearly income into their monthly. And so for everyone that's listening to join us, and now it's your turn.
Yeah, I absolutely cannot wait to dive into this. And by the way, this is a free event, which is absolutely insane because you have 7 industry leading speakers sharing the power of their gifts with you absolutely for free. And there's going to be not just, we're not just staying on the mental level of the intellectual level because this has got to be embodied change that is lasting. You're not going to leave this event the same person as you joined. And so, yes, I'm so excited to dive into your session and everyone else is there. It's going to be the best day. And if you can't make all of it, there are replays. And like I said, absolutely free. So you can click the link in my bio and get your ticket there, or DM me the word Queen, and I'll send you the link straight to your inbox. And then, yeah, let the magic sink in.
Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for this conversation. And thank you for who you are in the world, Katie, and your inspiring story and your magic and how you're helping women. I'm grateful and honored to be here with you today.
Likewise, I mean, this conversation just lit me up in so many ways. I feel so expanded just being in your presence and hearing all of the gold that you just dropped. So thank you so much for being so generous and loving and open. Yeah.
Katie.
All right. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you everyone for joining. Drop into our DMs if you have any questions, and we will see you soon.
Bye. Expect
Mwah.
abundance. Mwah.
Bye.